Hi, welcome to my channel. It has been a long time coming. My name is Peter, and this channel is about my journey or my experience living abroad here in Poland. I started this hunger to live in different countries about 10 years ago. And the first country I moved to was the United Kingdom. And there I learned so many things about myself, positive and negative. I also learned a lot about the world in general. And it was there that kind of was the catalyst that kind of started this journey and started the process of me thinking different about the United States and about my position in the world. After that experience, I was in the UK for a year. I moved back to the States for about 7 to 8 years. And I kind of did what every American did. I got a job, a decent job. At least I thought at the time it was a decent job. And, I worked the 9 to 5. I worked in a school, so it was more like 8 to 3. And I kind of just went through life and kind of ignored my passion to live abroad. And there came a point where I kind of hit a wall and I needed a space to rediscover myself, to rediscover pretty much every aspect about my life. And at the time, I was 29, and so I applied for a youth visa, and I ended up moving to Australia. And I moved to Australia in a very raw state, kind of like a coal, before it becomes a diamond. Very rough, very raw, and I just leaped into it. So I ended up moving to Australia, and I ended up kind of doing the job I was doing in the States in combination with a totally different job working with children at an after school and before school program. And I kind of discovered my passion for arts, specifically arts and crafts, and specifically for leadership and leading children and working with a team and helping to lead a team in some aspects. And it was there that that piece of coal started to come under pressure. A lot of pressure from having this misconception that Australia was going to be just like America because of the common language. And also having the misconception that a lot of the issues that I personally had in the States weren't going to come with me when I went to Australia. So I hit that realization, and luckily I had the opportunity there to read a lot of books, to really nurture myself and to really cater to my soul and spirit. And so I came back from Australia with a totally different perspective than the perspective that I returned with when I came back from the UK. And it was there that I kind of discovered myself or rediscovered myself and what I wanted to do in my life. So I went back to the States for 6 months. I ended up going to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm not from Tulsa. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. But I went to Tulsa to live with my sister and at the time her 2 children. Recently, my sister has gotten married and she has an amazing husband and another amazing son. And so I went to go stay with my family, and it was kind of the thing I needed at the time. Living with my sister was a big financial help because she didn't charge me to stay with her. But more so than that, it was awakening just being around my sister with her positive energy and being around the children with their curiousness and their vitality kind of ignited my fire and kind of pushed me to want to discover more about myself and to find my place in this world. And so I did the 6 months there, and I decided that, you know what, I like teaching, so let's try to teach English as a second language, and let's go to Europe and try to do it there. So without doing any research, today I would have definitely done more research. but I just jumped on a plane and flew over to Barcelona. I have a really good friend that lives in Barcelona, and I stayed with him and his husband. And I went on job interviews. And to my surprise, I was able to land a lot of amazing jobs with decent pay. Um, I probably booked myself for something like 10 interviews, and I got callbacks to 8 out of 10 of those jobs. And the only problem that I ran into was the fact that I didn't have the legal standing to work in Spain or to even work in the EU. And that was a challenge, and that was kind of an obstacle in my journey in trying to secure a job. And so I was running out of time, which is another video. In another video, I'll talk about time. When you're traveling, um, time is really an issue. There's specific restrictions when you go to specific countries of how long you can stay legally. So I decided that, okay, I'll just go out of Europe. I'll go out of the Schengen zone. And so I ended up in beautiful, beautiful Morocco. And down in Morocco, it really ignited my fire. Morocco is an amazing country, with amazing food, amazing people, amazing settings and atmosphere. But being there definitely told me that I didn't want to go back to the States, and that I really, really wanted to live in the EU. So I racked my brain. I had a lot of sleepless nights in Morocco trying to figure it out, trying to figure out how can I obtain a visa. What can I do to get a job in the EU? And it kept leading me to a lot of stops, a lot of roadblocks. So eventually I kind of thought to myself, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I came across this woman named Jana. I had met Jana years before, and we had done a course together. There's several courses that you can take, and that most jobs require if you want to teach English as a second language. So I had met her in one of those courses. I'll talk specifically in detail about those specific courses. There's the CELTA, and there's other few courses that you can take in a different video. And so I started chatting with her, and she was living in Poland, and the school that she was working at, that I still work at now, was in desperate need of a teacher for children. And so that was something that I was looking for, so it was a perfect match. So I was hired. In the hiring process, there was a few more hoops I had to jump through, and I was able to do that. And to process my visa, I had to fly back to the States. So I went back to Spain, and in going back to Spain, I ended up in Madrid, and I coincidentally found a summer job there that I did pretty much for 4 years, 4 consecutive summers up until the pandemic, or the start of the pandemic. And that was a great source of income, but it also was a great source of experience. And it allowed me to kind of continue doing art with children, which is something that I really loved doing down in Australia. So I went back to the States. I got my visa process. I handled everything I needed to do in the States. And I flew into Poland, and I started my journey here. And it has been an amazing journey. I always tell people that you can have an amazing journey just staying where you are, staying in your hometown, staying in your home country, or just moving to a different city. That was an option that I thought about for myself. However, when you move abroad, it gives you a bigger space to explore yourself and explore the world, because you're faced with several challenges. You're faced with more challenges, and you're faced with challenges that you wouldn't necessarily have in your home country. And a lot of those challenges are with language and cultural differences, time differences, food differences, currency differences, mentality differences that also correlate with the culture. And so trying to cope with those challenges really help you grow as a person, and really hoping to open your mind in ways that you could do in your home country, but I feel here it just gives you more space, a bigger space to kind of catalyze those actions and behaviors. Um, Also, I'm here to encourage people to just try it, to do the jump. Even if you only have the opportunity to live abroad for 3 months or 6 months, that small amount of time could change your life dramatically. I also, that when you live abroad, the challenge never stops, because you have to balance this experience with trying to maintain relationships with your family back in your home country, or with family and friends you have in other countries. And so that's also a big challenge. And also, you kind of, the longer you stay out of your home country, you start to be in this space of limbo, where you're not really a resident in your own country. You're a citizen, obviously, but you're not a resident anymore. And then you become a resident of your host country. And so there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of processes and legality that you have to go through to make sure that you are standing in your country, or you're in your host country legally. And there's a lot of things that you have to do to maybe maintain your relationship legally, and to make it easier in your home country. So my goal is, through my experiences and through my journey, is to help you with your potential journey of moving abroad, or if you do live abroad, helping you with some of those things like paying taxes or filling out specific documents, to kind of help you through this process. I hope to have a prosperous year with this channel, and I can't wait to see you next week. So if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that like button, and I can't wait to see you next week.